Okay, I'm going to scroll down to week 7 because I'm doing the video for Thursday. And I'm going to go over the items. These are really fun, I think, but I may be biased. Okay, so for your lecture, you have 3 videos. They're not that long. I want the first one in a file called CMS. Now, I noticed here I was a little inconsistent in the fact that I was having you put it in lectures CMS. So if you want to create a folder called CMS, which by the way, if you've never heard this term, CMS, in the content management system, let's do it because it could mean content. There we go. CMS is what it stands for. So it's a system used to manage certain creation and modification of digital content. The most popular one is WordPress. Okay, so if you haven't heard of WordPress, you will. It's almost, I think the last statistic I heard was about 30% of all websites. So I like this first one because it gives you an idea of Squarespace, because Squarespace is a very popular service where you can create websites. And I want you to know the difference between these two. So I like this video. So all those notes, again, you can be consistent as I wasn't here creating that directory and taking notes through this whole thing. This is about 10 minutes. Again, I think this guy gives really good information. So in the second one, we delve into a topic that is at least important to be introduced to. And this is going to be 2 videos, but you're going to add it to the same file. You're going to call it payments.markdown, right? And make sure when you're taking notes, this first one is 3 minutes. So a few notes on here. Do use headings in your markdown file so I can see your notes from this first video. What is a payment gateway and what's the name of that? Yep. And how does it work? Yeah, so payment gateways are really important because it's like in order to understand how you take payments, a very popular way is using payment gateways. And then the second video talks about the top 10 ones and gives you some pluses and minuses. And I like this guy too. I think he does a really nice job. So you'll take notes on these 2. Again, I'm going to repeat in the same file and then just submit the link to your lectures in this case. Okay, and again, if you want to be consistent, please do so. All right, so the next item in this week is one that we've been talking about for a little while now, and I'm going to show you an example of how to do it. I want you to create your menu and select the topic for your site. So we've been talking about it. Now is the time. Figure out what is going to be the major overarching topic for your site. Is it a portfolio site? Is it just, and the term vanity may feel weird, but is it just a site about you? Is it a site about your work? Right? Determine what that's going to be. Right, and I'm going to show you how to build out the menu, which really builds upon what we covered in Monday's item. Okay, and then I think it'd be really good because we're only going to do the menu here, right? And then in your reply, outline what you think will be each page. Now, this is your best guess at this, right? And in your reply, right, now you could do this in the site if you want to take the time now, but either do it in the site or do it here where you actually go through, right? And so we're going to show you how to build it in the project, but I want you to have thought about what pages are going to go underneath those as well. Again, you can choose here if you want to just do it using bullet points or numbers here or indentions, right? I'm totally open to that. Or if you want, you can take the next step and do it in the site. But I'm going to first show you how to build out at least the menu, okay? Okay, so I'm going to switch over to VS Code real quick. And this is where I left it after creating the one for Monday, which I created the new file. And so I could just use my new as a way to start looking at my menu, but I think I'm going to do it in my index file because it would make the most sense. And again, you don't have to have all the pages there, although it'd be good. Again, you get to kind of choose how much you want to work on this particular one. So all I really have to do here, there's building the menu as far as the items. And again, remember, you need either 4 or 5 items. So in this case, my site, my template that I built from only had 3. So it'd be pretty easy to add mine. And again, it's a little easier for me because I already have an example: life, work, family, and community. Right? So in this case, again, you can choose a different file if you want, but I would say life. Now this is just life, work, family. Now, again, I haven't changed any of where they're going. All I'm doing now is making them show up in the output. And so now if I wanted to do that final one, right? I think I said community on the last one. Right? So that would be at minimum the first part of putting together your menu. And if I scoot over and back out, I could see here, if I refresh, I can see that menu. Now, this is not a working menu, and this is where I'm going to let you somewhat choose how much you want to do here. If time allows, I would recommend building out a couple more pages, right? Because right now we know these links are not working. We know the site, if you did it from last time, is, but, so that's at minimum, right? You would want to do for that first part, which is to build out the menu. And then in the reply, if you want, build out what you think those subpages, what are the topic targets, right, for those subpages. So as an example, if I was to look back at mine under life, right, I had house, food, bunny, and worms. Like that was my subpages for that. So what do you think those subpages are going to be? Right. And then if you decide you want to do more of the work up in here, then do that. That's cool. Otherwise, make sure they're in your reply. And then when you're done with whatever amount you're going to do on your project site, then do your Git workflow, right? Give us a link to your GitHub pages, not to your repo. Okay. Actually, what I want here is I want a link to your site itself, right? I said that here, and post your URL and then write something about the work you completed here. Okay, again, you get to kind of choose, but if nothing else, you're going to spend some time thinking about what those subpages are. Okay, so the last part of this is something that's going to be required for each of your pages, right? Which is really images. And so I found what I think is a really good video, and I went through it today and did at least an example to show you. So step 1 is watch this video. He's talking about images on the web and where to get free images. Because as I have mentioned before, if I haven't, you can look at images.google.com. What you need to be careful of is when you're searching for, let's say, beach, right? You have to be careful of who owns that? Do they allow you to use it, right? It's subject to copyright. Now, but we do have some flexibility because we're an academic project and you do have some flexibility there. But I really like that in this video, he gives you, and I looked at the first one, which was Pixabay, and I looked at the second one. They're very good. So I want you to choose 3 images that you think you will use for your site. Now, you don't have to use them, but I want you to choose 3. And then I want you to create a new page with your template, and I want you to call it images.html, okay? And then in the file, and I'm going to come back to this because he actually shows first how to get them. And then we're going to do 2 more steps. We're going to have the original file, we're going to resize it, and then we're going to optimize it, because he talks about optimizing it in the way that I have done in the past, and I love that he covers it. And we optimize them, and I talk about this here. We resize them. Now, what you use to resize them is really for you based on your own system. If you have something on your local system that does it. If not, I have used Pixlr to resize this, okay? Man, they've changed their site since I was last there. Smarter tools. You don't have to download anything. Sometimes they make you think you do, right? Pixlr, new generator. And actually, he talks about in the video, not this one, but he talks about in the video, there's also one you could use that is there as well. Now, because I'm on the Mac, I have something built in that I use that I really like a lot. So I'm just going to show you. I went and got an image off the first site and I downloaded it. And you do have to do, I'm not a robot, right? So find 3 images you want to start with. Now, the thing I did, and the thing I recommend you kind of do here, is I had in my template already a folder for images. Now, if you want to create a separate one, you can. And so here's the original file. Okay. No, here's the original file. And I can tell because look at the file name. It's the 1920 pixels across. So this is the original one. Here's the one after I resized it. Now, again, this will be different based on where and how you do it. I'm going to pull my directory that I'm looking at here up inside of my Explorer, your file manager if you're on Windows. So my original file was 912 kilobytes, which is way too big unless it's going to be a jumbo image. And then I resized it to be 1,000. Okay. And this is, you're kind of shooting in the dark a little bit, but at least bring it down in size about 50%. But let me just show you, at least conceptually, right? Whatever program you use, most all of them have a readjust size. And then I chose 1,000. And I can see it's reducing it by about 50%. And again, he talked about the idea of keeping the lock, and that really is keeping the aspect ratio. I could change the resolution. That would also help the file. But just for this experience, what I did is I just did that. And now I gave it a new name as well. For me, I have to do something called export. Okay, so I did that step. And you can see by looking at, let me see, I think I can increase this now. As you can see from my original file of 912, just resizing it to 1,000, look how much space it decreased. And then I used the system that he recommended, which is I uploaded it to that site, which is right here. Okay, I uploaded it to there, and I didn't really, let's go look at it. You can see I uploaded it, and when you upload it, you actually have to upload it. It'll optimize it, and then you download it. And then when I got it back, it did decrease it a little bit, which is awesome, right? So it added this min in there. So now what I want you to do, and this is the last, so first find 3 images, do this process, get the original one, decrease the size, resolution, and then optimize it just to see that process, right? And again, the more you do this, the more you learn about images. It is really important. And then I want you to create a new page, and I want you to call it, let me come back to the instructions so we can see it. So I want you to call it images.html and use your template, and then include the original image, the resized image, and the optimized image. And in the content, and this is where you get to play again with your template, right? In the content in the page itself, talk a little about how much the file size decreased. Like mine, again, I would say something like, my file started as 912 kilobytes with this resolution. After resizing it, it moved to this 196. After optimizing, then it moved here. And it really is just a good way for you to see. Now, these are going to be pages that are going to be very heavy. So here's the deal. Just to know, if I wanted to, so I'm just going to walk you through part of it, right? So I'm going to create a new file in my template. I'm going to call it images.html. Right now it's blank, so I would go grab content. Now, I don't care if you're going to use content from the menu. You can do that as well. I could use the one from new, but I'm going to select all. I'm going to come over to images, right? And then in here, here's where I would, in here, play with putting those images in here. I could just come into one of my divs. Notice they already have an image tag, so I'd have to play with that. And this is part of why I want you to play with your template, because you're going to end up adding images anyway. And this is just a good start to do it. So what we're doing is showing you how to get images, how to resize them, how to optimize them. And then you're doing the final step, which is also to how to place them into your template. Now, they don't have to look beautiful. They just have to be in there, and I want to see a little content. Okay, so then you complete the workflow, you reply, giving the link to your GitHub IO site with this link directly, right? So in this case, once I push this, do the Git workflow, right? First, I'm going to have a new index file, and I'm going to have a file that has my images. So remember, when you're giving the link here, you want to give a link directly to that new image page. So let me just come over here, right? So I'd go into my here, I do git add star, I do git commit -m. Now I haven't done the images file, I'm just giving you the example of the link. Adding new content, and then git push. Now this also takes a minute for it to show up, but while it does, I would open up my site, my Rio, there we go. And now I can tell if it's actually working. Now it's not here yet, right? And again, this takes a few moments for it to show up. But once it does, but I'm just, more than anything, I'm here just to show you this part, right? Takes it a moment, but in your reply, this is the link you want to give in this assignment. And this is kind of why I'm showing you here, is that when you're giving us the week 7 for your menu, right, you would give us the one just to your site. Like, so let's see if it's resolved yet. Let's see if it's up there. It's tacking it a little bit. Now, one thing you can always do if this happens is to make sure you actually, and actually for me it'd be different. Actually it would be github. And actually right there it would be. And I would just make sure I was in the right directory. Oh yeah, and I see it here. Cool. So now remember, this is not the type of link you want to give us. I'm just saying, did it show up? Yeah, it showed up a minute ago. I was getting impatient. And sometimes when you're putting updates to the IO site, let me make sure I have it typed right. It just takes a moment for it to show up. Oh, there we go. So that's the link to the menu one. And then assuming that in any minute now, and I could also make sure that's the name I gave it. Images. Yeah, it is right. It's just taking it HTML. Yep. Just taking it a minute to show up. So at least that gives you an idea. And so what you will have in that page once it's done is you will have those 3 images, again, laid out, play with it. This is the idea of the more you play with your template, right? You can also, this is where knowing your bootstrap, how your bootstrap, I can see I have a column that's 7 and a column that is 5, which makes sense because remember, it's the grid system. It has to add up to 12. So play with how you'd want to put those in there. All right, hope this helps you. Talk to you later.